Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of Super Sunday here on Apex Racing TV. That's right, wow, the Weekend Warriors, they return for part 2. It's the SRFs now, and we've headed from Japan to America. If you weren't with us earlier on for the Formula 4s, we were at Okayama. Where were you? It was an absolutely scintillating race, absolutely dominated by the Brazilian, the Altobino. But so many great drivers and a bigger grid now for the Ford Spec races. Are we going to have the same here at Lime Rock Park? I am Tim Cox. We've got Lewis Wright in the virtual production trailer. Now a change. Charles Basile earlier on. It's now the turn of Tom Dillon to join me to witness the action, the drama and the excitement. Tom, welcome along. And well, Lime Rock, one of those quintessential entry-level tracks on the iRacing service, but great racing here no matter what you seem to drive around here.
Hey, I love it at Lime Rock Park, Tim. I really do. It's one of my favourite racetracks in the US, and to be honest with you, it's probably one of my favourite sort of national racetracks in the world. I put it up there with your Donington Parks and your Brands Hatches, as you know, those tracks that aren't necessarily used for your big World Championship events, but are there for your weekly racing, and I really do love Lime Rock Park for that.
That's a pretty good shout. That I've never thought about it like that, but do you know, I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's a great little track. You say that national vibe to it, and well. Should we, before we get started deep into things, so you see just in the background right now, qualifying is underway, the usual 20 minutes for the drivers, but we'll get stuck into qualifying points, into championship points even. And while it was the same this point last season as it is this season, Marco Panero leads the way. Jason Green, he's in second and getting cut adrift now, and certainly is Flavio Andalo lying in third. Overstreet's fourth, with Lasky in fifth, with Meyer, Gould, Weissluzel, and Andrea. The only drivers take part in 4 races inside the top 10, with Alberto Pellegrini only taking part in 3 of the 4 rounds so far even. I'll get my words out in a minute. He rounds out your top 10. Into Spec 2, and it's Ken Batley who leads the way there, but by a much slimmer margin. 4 points over Phil Berry. Ian Gibson, well, he's only further 3 points behind in third place, with Alan McCain. Real haul of points last time out of I'm trying to think where we were. It wasn't Road Atlanta, that was a week prior. But either way, he's 7 points behind in 4th place. Then there's a gap to Josh Justice, who's only taken part in 3 races, which does lead to quite a bit of that gap emerging. He is in 5th with only Jeff Wilcott only 2 points behind on 1.52. Then it's Vaglini, Vogel, Jackson, and Perkins to round out your top 10. Let's head across into Masters now. And well, Jim Brewster leads the way there. Led the way into the championship into the earlier on in the Formula Fords. And also leads the Ford Spec Racers. Astounding season for the American. Tom Gradwell second, Yorgmani third. I mean, look at the big names behiend him. Mitchell, Cathcart, Rice, Longin, Murakami, Love to round out that top. Also Kurt Nunes as well. Some major names behind Brewster, but he is leading the way. And by 15 points as well, coming into round 5 of the season. Now tonight, we're racing without the chicane on the uphill, and well, certainly not the dreaded West Bend chicane. A layout that's, well, I don't know really anyone who does enjoy that chicane at the end of the lap, but makes it a bit more tricky, doesn't it? Because just seeing the drivers come through the uphill there, that as you come across the crest of the hill, it's so easy for when the rear gets light just to have the cars go on you, isn't it, Tom? Well, at least that's my experience from my poor driving standards.
Yes, and oh dear, there's a car all the way off on the left-hand side now, on driver's left. He's doing a little bit of rallying, and he's pretty intense on the course there. Let's everyone go through, but it's seemingly okay. So I imagine just trying not to spew himself back over the racetrack and take everyone out here. Looking at Yorgmani, he's third at the moment, looks to cross the line. He's going to go into the grass himself here, so unorthodox line, running to the line. Yorgmani with just 5 minutes to go in the session. It is Pinero who leads, of course. I appreciate I haven't actually yet answered your question, Tim, but I think this Lime Rock Park track, there's a lot of blind corners because it's a relatively small racetrack. Not necessarily blind corners, but corners that are difficult to see around, and you're chopping and changing quite a lot, and I think that can be quite difficult. It can be difficult as well for the driver's spatial awareness as they're going around just trying to make sure they know what is at the next corner. It really lends itself to making sure you've got a spotter going, whether it be crew chief, whether it be a real life person, or indeed anything that our sponsor RaceVoice offers, Tim.
Oh, that's a beautiful segue. I'm going to have to mention them now, Tom. Now you've said that, I'm left with no other choice. But of course, the RaceVoice, long sponsor of this series, in fact, a simple way to transfer complicated data into. Oh, hello! There's a big incident in the background there. Who was that? I think that was Vandrew Dantes caught in that one. Anyway, it's a simple way to transform complicated performance data into easy-to-understand voice notifications and alerts. There were 16 different notifications, including up and down, shift over, rev alerts, corner entry, turn in, and exit speed. It provides immediate feedback on driver and vehicle performance. You can find more about them by heading across to racevoice.com. Now, 3 minutes left on the clock in qualifying. Marco Pinero leads the way. And then, well, it's the Masters that are taking it to him right now, with Antonio Rice and Yorgmani second and third. Simon Mayers up there. Ken Batley absolutely flying right now in 8th in Spec 2. McCain's up there as well. There's plenty of names up there. There's plenty of the usual big names. I'm just having a bit of a scroll through. Slightly smaller grid tonight. I say small, still at 31 cars, so it's not exactly small, but it is by the series. You can tell that summer holidays are starting to kick in and in full effect by the inverted commas smaller grid. But having said that, that might play into a few of the drivers' hands when it comes to traffic and catching up with the back of the pack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, summer holidays tend to be the least busy time sim racing wise, apart from in endurance, I find, which seems to pack out grids during the summer. I guess because everyone's got time. But in sprint leagues, especially, you don't typically find the most healthy of grids. But if you've got a league that's got 31 cars as a relatively small grid, that is good going. Yorgmani has jumped up into second position, 55.2 for him across the line. That's just ahead of Reese. I think Marnie's going to be out of the session here, so he's happy with his second. I'm sure he'll want to return to winning ways overall. He's had a couple of Masters victories this season, hasn't been on the overall podium for a while. I don't think for a couple of rounds at least, if at all. I don't quite recall Marnie winning one so far this season in terms of the overall classification. Here's Andrea Favini as he comes around the final couple of corners here at Lime Rock Park. What can he do in terms of attacking that timing tower? A couple of drivers on outlaps. It is actually Pinero and Marnie. So Marnie looking to continue here. Vivini crosses the line. He is unable to improve. So we keep our eye on this battle for pole position because there's only 200th of a second in it.
There is. It's frighteningly close right now, but due to this track being 1.5 miles in length, it does lend to these nip and tuck tight qualifying times. In fact, to go 1 whole second, Tom, that's covering our top 20 and including 25 positions on track. So nearly the entire grid. At 30, because we've got 31 with us tonight. So nearly the entire grid covered by a second, just half a second. In fact, that takes you all the way down to 14th left, Jeff Jacobson.
It's like you're racing ovals on iRacing, where the entire grid's separated by a tenth of a second, and that's understandable. But this is actually a proper racetrack where you have to brake and turn right. So definitely impressive, I think. Here's Jorg Marnie. He's on a lap now, and he hasn't got any traffic to contend with. I'm not sure if he caught up to that 160 car and has had to pass him on this lap. If so, it's going to slightly upset his run as he goes up through our uphill section. We'll go down into the final couple of corners. Here we go on board with Jorg Marnie heading through turn 6, the west bend, then into downhill turn 7, which is the final corner of this racetrack, and we'll see if he can attack that pole position. 200th he needs to improve by. That is a bigger improvement than you may expect. Crosses the line, and I don't think he's quite had enough.
No, a bit of a shame for him right at the depth. In fact, where he's 4/10 slower, 4.5 in fact. Be a bit more precise. See Antonio Rice coming across the line. This is going to be an improvement for him. Can he get it up onto the front row? Currently third, second row off the grid as he cuts the timing beam. Wait for the time to update. Does he go any faster? Well, as it hasn't updated, I would say that could well be a time deleted for him. And he's going to remain in third for now. Who else is on laps? Well, Vivini, but he would have crossed the line after the chicken flag had flown. Jason Green, possibly? No, he was going to have done it afterwards because we're on 21 minutes and 20 seconds, so that's not going to count for him. So yeah, that's just done and dusted. As he disappears in qualifying as we transition across the race, and hopefully not so much high track temperatures we experienced earlier on in the Formula Fords. No, 41 degrees Celsius, that's what's about 82 Fahrenheit, I think, if memory serves me right. But Marco Pinero on pole with Jorg Marnie joining him on the front row. Row 2, it's Antonio Rice and Simon Mayer. Row 3 sees Andrea Fivini line up alongside Kane Lasky with Jason Green and Ken Batley on row 4. The top 10 and row 5, that's run out by Megan O'Street and Les Plaver.
Kurt Nunes and Alan McCain start just outside in 11th and 12th. Evandro Dantas and Jeff Jacobson on row 7. Then it's Bradford Gould and Dan Wood making up your row 8. Tom Gradwell and Claudio Gardini behind them. Row 10, Jesus A. Rodriguez and Adam Bradshaw.
21st and 22nd. That's row 11, and it's Geoff Justice and Jeff Wilmker, the All-American row. Brad Cadcar, he's got fellow Masters driver Stephen Mitchell for company on row 12. Row 13, that sees Phil Berry and Bob Kern lining up alongside one another. And then we've got Paul Jackson and Martin van der Berg on row 14. Row 15 and top 30 is Gianni Longin and Gary Walbolt. Michelle Faglini rounding out your field here. 31 car grid. And let's have a bit of a mention, what's we already covered, as Tom lovingly segued into RaceVoice. Mention to our other sponsor for this series, Apex Racing Academy. They have 29 data packs for road and oval racing, and also a bit of dirt in there as well, thanks to good old John Robertson, former iRacing off-road champion and World Rallycross champion. They have setups, track guides, integration with Virtual Racing School. They also have weekly group coaching sessions and one-on-one sessions available if you want to go faster out on track, and much, much more. Make sure you check out Apex Racing Academy. Well, as everyone heads off on the formation lap behind the Porsche 911 safety car, think probably time for us to, just get comfy, take a bit of a breath, Tom, because I think that's going to be the first and the last time we get until everyone's crossed the line here at Lime Rock Park.
Yes, and I want to elaborate on your point slightly of track temperature. 41 degrees, that is very, very hot indeed. I'm not sure, has iRacing got live weather plugins too?
Yes,
that
you
would
can-ish set it around there, around dates and times. Takes the sort of average around, what it is normally at that point in the world. Interesting, earlier on at Okayama in qualifying, we had 57 degrees Celsius track temperatures.
And they will make you struggle. And
oh, yes. It's very slippery.
I always say that you shouldn't think too much. I think it's a habit that us commentators sometimes have, is that we try and make too much of minor differences in track temperature. It goes from 28 to 31 throughout the course of a race, and we say that's going to play a major factor. But I think when it comes to a difference between 40 degrees and 28 degrees, which is sort of your optimal, 40 degrees is going to make it fairly difficult, Tim.
Oh yes, it will do. It'll be a little bit on the slippery side out there for the drivers. But as we head down in towards diving turn, everyone just taking place, bunching up the field a little bit. Bit manageable tonight. 31 cars. We had 50 last time we visited here. Oh, that was frantic. But as the Porsche 911 safety car pulls in, let's get ready to go racing from Lime Rock Park in round 5 of the SRF Weekend Warriors, as we are green and we are away. And then we're just moving across onto the racing line. Panero still in control of this one. Bit more gingerly approaching the midfield there. People shuffling around. Josh Justice and Rodriguez. It starts from them. They're at 3. Cathcart at 4th. Dan Woods on an absolute shocker. Down 5 already, being caught up in the midfield. You see Dantas there had that big incident during qualifying. Wood in the middle there in that 28 machine, tumbling down, not where he would want to be, certainly by his own high standards. We head up through the uphill for the first time this evening. Cold tyres, need to be a little bit careful through there. Make our way through West Bend, but everyone has got away cleanly, and that's the crucial part.
Yes, and listen to that whir as well of the cars going through, 30 of them making their way down into turn 1 for the second time, and there's no battle for the lead just yet, not like what we saw at Phillip Island last week. There are some battles going on though. Andrea Favini, you're looking at him, the number 27 car. He's got his eyes set on that podium, but first and foremost got his eyes set on Meyer in the 5 just ahead of him. It's very difficult to overtake at this portion of the racetrack, though. Really your main opportunity is down that main straight. Everything else seems relatively processional rather. Needs to be careful though, because Kane J Lasky will ride on board with a number 9 car. He's going to be right on the tail of Favini as we go through into the latter stages of this very short racetrack. It's pretty much line of stern between our top 10, who are all separated by just a couple of seconds, Tim.
Well, you say our top 10. I'm just looking at the timing tab. Nunes is 9/10 behind Plaver. But other than that, everyone is still pretty much what you classified any other series as line as stern for the whole entire field of 31 cars. There's McCain just getting a move done on, well, Kurt Nunes, who we're just mentioning there. That's going to open up a little bit of a gap to Dantas, Plaver, and Batley, just forming a little free car field in front of them. As always, a bit more niggly down, further down through the field as Josh Justice getting in front of Brad Cathcart there. Also Gardini, I think that was just in front of them, yes, getting the move done on Bradford Gould, who's slow off the corner and couldn't come under a little bit of threat here. Good job they haven't got the big braking zone coming into the uphill chicane, but side by side through here, Tom, I'm going to have to close my eyes. You can't normally do that from there.
Definitely not. They'll still go side by side, and behind there's side by side action as well. That's between Bradshaw and Berry, I believe, as they go on through. I'm not quite sure. In fact, it would be through Berry and Wood. My apologies, as we now go back to a battle between Gary Rodbolt and Vagalini. They're at the back of this field, but they're going to go side by side down into turn 1. Not quite. Plaver's just got past Bately. That is the other news. Here goes Rodbolt down the inside of the 902. And I think he's going to get clear as they go down into turn 1. These two perhaps would be smart to try and work together to catch up to the rest of the pack here, because with pit stops playing a bit of a factor later on, they definitely can still take something from this race.
With the exception of those two that have sort of fallen off the pack a little bit, the pack is still from first all the way through to Martin van der Berg down in 29th. Everyone's still nip and tuck with one another in these early stages. It's just coming up to 4 minutes out of 40 complete here from Lightning Rock Park. You see Bob Kern there and Jackson. These two have just swapped around in these early stages, but no progress made, despite Dan Wood still continuing to lose places. Down 7 now into 23rd in the 28 machine. Well, yes, the 28 machine. And then soon be in 28th place as he carries on at this rate. Not the start that he definitely would have wanted at all there, Tom. But it's ultimately in front of him. I think the highest position climber, he was joint, it's Dantas and Rodriguez, both up 4 places so far.
And 4 places doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But around this racetrack, that is actually a pretty sizable margin. Georg Marni, these two breaking away from the pack at the moment. Marni and Panero, 1.8 seconds to 3rd place behind, which gives Georg Marni license to go. And he won't quite go down into turn 1. Has a little bit of a look, has a tease of Panero with a lunge down the inside, but thinks better of it, thinks sensibly. In the end, I think that Georg Marni will ride on board with the Swiss driver in the Masters tip. Probably the favourite for that Masters Championship. I think he's probably our points leader. I can't quite recall who was on the top there, Tim, but I think it was Georg Marni. Would be about right, because he has been fantastic throughout the course of this season so far. And look at the run he gets out of turn 5 rather, into turn 6. And now we'll try and get a run out of turn 7 and into turn 1.
Jim Brewster leads the way in Masters points at the moment.
Oh, does he?
He's in second, yeah. It's very close though. With no Brewster tonight, it's looking like, well, provided Marnie could pretty much just keep it on the road, he will claim the lead in Masters. There's McCain just making a move in the background there. And also, I think I saw Adam Bradshaw trying to throw some shapes, like he's out on the dance floor on a Saturday night, a few beers deep, and get some moves done there and make some progress. As Bradford Gould on Just Justice there, Bradshaw right involved too. 3 stalwarts of this series all duking it out. As we head round the back of the circuit now, we'll say the back, it makes it sound like a massive track. It's really, really not here at Lime Rock, and we head towards the uphill through Big Ben first. You hear him. Just, it's amazing, the cars get light just there, just make a bit of a jump. They're so low powered, these machines, 160 horsepower if my memory serves me right, out of a 1.6 litre engine. It just really shows what sort of air you can get through there. But Panero, well, for the first time, and I'd say about a season and a half, is looking incredibly vulnerable and really having the fight taken him. But someone's happened to Simon Mayer, he's falling through the order.
He is, and Marnie's still just playing the long game, not wanting to do anything. Mayo drops all the way down into 17th position, so something rather dramatic happening to him, and now he falls down to 18th, past Gould as well. Helicopter camera as we go through into the uphill turn, trying to see if your Marnie can finally go for a move on Panero. Now down through turn 6, surely there has to be an opportunity, getting closer and closer every single lap, and I think it's just about closer on this lap. Through turn 7, gets a fantastic exit, and I think wide goes Panero slightly. This gives Marnie a golden opportunity to just maybe pull alongside. Panero knows that he might be a sitting duck in this one, but Marnie's just too far back. Gradwell jumps to the pit lane. That's a very early stop, and I would dare say that might even be either a drive-through penalty for some kind of track limit extension or a very, very early damage stop.
I'm going to guesstimate the latter, probably, Tom. Well, this is what happened to Simon Mayer to descend down the order. More like cascading like a waterfall. Lost it a bit on entry. Caught the curbing, which really unsettled the car. And clips the wall. It'll get away with that one in terms of damage, but Well, it's going to be a long day at the office of Simon Mayer to recover these places. Down 13 into 17 for now. Well out of position. And well, with it being challenging to overtake here at Lime Rock, it's going to be, well, a real struggle for him to get back into the fight, but never say never. Dunwood is making a bit of progress, though. He's just got past Brad Cathcart, so a bit more positive for the American, certainly. But just riding on board with Jason Green right now. In front of us, Lasky, Fafini, and Rice. They're really falling behind. I mean, look at that. 3.5 seconds already in the space of, well, we're just onto the 10th lap. 9 laps complete. That's a big old margin. What, you're talking, well, nearly half a second a lap, aren't you?
Around this track, half a second a lap is huge because the track is just that small. Gianni Longini, I should say, my apologies. You can see him there at the back in the 965 car. He's trying to make up some moves, 25th position, and Jackson is his next target, but he's under a little bit of pressure himself as well from Kern, just behind. We're only a quarter of the way into this race, and not even that yet. Technically, we've got to wait another 30 seconds or so for that to tick over officially, and still all to play for in this one as we go down into turn 1. Kurt Nunes is finding himself under a little bit of pressure, but everyone wanting to stay line of stern. And I think I get the theme that this is how they want to run these races. You've got a lot of slipstream at Lime Rock Park, a chance to save a bit of fuel by being behind someone. You're not going to lose too much time by being behind them. So actually, I think that is what they want to do at the moment, to just go as long as they can.
Which makes it all the more interesting for that battle for the lead, doesn't it, between Panero and Marnie. Marnie, as I say, just happy, almost seems to be to sit behind Panero in these early stages. Equally interesting that Panero just hasn't maybe yielded a bit more, but Kurt Nunes just see him running wide a bit there. He'll get away with that one. We descend now through the final turn, but might allow Gardini just to close up. We're going to look for another move here into turn 1 down the Samposi straight. We go underneath the bridge. Is he going to make a move into the braking zone? Has to back out of it. Kurt Nunes has got it coming. Oh, car off on the inside there. Who was that? Didn't quite catch. It might have been Ken Batley potentially. I think he's lost a few places.
And I hear from our producer as well, we might even have a replay of that, and it was Ken Batley. Let's have a look then as they go down into turn 1. You can see Ken just about in the middle of your frame, and well, I think he's just going to get it crossed up mid-corner.
There you go. Started to go the rear on him, and then as soon as you touch that dreaded iRacing grass that is like ice, around you go. That's all she wrote for Ken Batley. Gutting for him. Absolutely gutting for him, but oh, it's all starting a bit choppy and changey. Up and down through the field. Looks like someone's fired the starting gun here as we look back from Curtin Nunes. That's Jeff Jacobson, not content with making up one place over Gardini, going for another on Nunes. He's squeezed to the outside. He will have the inside now for the next corner. Can he make it stick through there? Look at Gardini just jockeying for position as we head through the S's. And Nunes lists to fight another day and defends from Jacobson, but for now, well, he definitely seems to be struggling. And all while this is happening, Jesus Rodriguez rubbing his hands in glee as he's scampering away up the road, away from these three. Nunes, well, he's locked in a bit of a pocket space by himself. So's McCain in front of him, and then so's Overstreet in front of them. She's really struggling here today after a solid result. Second earlier on in the Formula Fords as well. She just managed to pick up another place. It's Dantas into the pits. Ooh, that's a bit early. Where? Yeah, he's about the right position on track. I thought he wasn't, but he comes around so quickly, it's so hard to tell. As Jeff Jacobson finally looking like he's going to get the move done here to come an extra lap. But he's made it stick over Kurt Nunes. That's 10th and up 4 places now.
As we have a replay of someone sending it around the outside, it's Alice Pleva in the 49 car. We'll keep an eye on this because he is a while back. And has he made a mistake? He has. He's got mid-corner oversteer again. It just sends him off, and it's almost an anti-climax how you just slowly go into the bush and then get that rear cover off of the car, and he's into the pits. That is frustrating for him because it feels so needless when you're in the car. You forget just how slippy that grass is. take a moment because we have got a battle going on, and this battle is for third position. Around the outside goes Favini. It is Rice who is trying to hold on to it. Favini will try and go all the way around the outside. It's a long way round to get around at this part of the racetrack, and he's not quite able to do it on this occasion. We'll have to wait at least another lap, I'm sure, for that. So Antonio Reis holds on for the time being. Favini behind him. Lasky looking to pick up the pieces of whatever goes on here with 13 minutes into this race. Make that 14 if we're going to round up. And these guys probably not doing themselves too many favours by having a battle.
Overstreet at the tail end and Green at the tail end of this battle, and McCain now being brought into the fight. He was in a little bit of a pocket of space by himself, but all this chopping and changing is finally, is Favini going to get the move done on Antonio Rice? They make contact mid-corner. They both get away with it. Now, what about Lasky? What's he going to do? He's going to split the difference down the middle of them.
No!
Off the track. Oh, no.
Pit lane.
It is pit lane. It caught me as well, Tom, there. As they're going to make it this four wide. No, they're not. And Antonio Rice from the lead of this group goes down to fourth in this group as Lasky now having to run in deep, run it out wide. That's going to allow Favini to come back into this and take control of this group like he thought he was going to do originally. Well, before he started banging doors with Antonio Rice. Oh, well, it's all changed. Overstreet, that was heading into the pits. We thought she made contact and was heading off the track, but she wasn't. Well, I'm glad I wasn't the only one for both before exactly the same time. She was off, but no, a relatively easy entry pit lane. Now, she's the one to watch. Well, actually, she's come out behind a Vantry Dantas. She pitted 2 laps ago on lap 13, Tom. So he's now actually the benchmark and the one to watch, and he could actually end up getting the jump of everyone. There's Green. Jason Green.
A bit early for my liking still. But obviously they've got the fuel numbers and I don't, so I'll take their word for it. As in the meantime, we have covered it, but Rice obviously falling down the order into 5th. That gives Favini a chance to have a run at the podium here. I think Kane Lasky will fancy his chances. He's keeping awkwardly quiet there in 4th position. Hasn't really been trying to make any moves forward. Hasn't really had to do much defending, and that is the sign of someone who is managing his race very well indeed. So I think Kane Lasky in with a golden chance here. 8.3 seconds to our leading pair that is still doing a little bit of tandem flying at the moment. So I think these guys best served probably trying to cut down that advantage. Maybe you give it 15 minutes, reassess at about the half-an-hour mark and say, look, you know, we're still 5 seconds behind. Now is the time where we have to battle amongst ourselves. But I think the sensible thing to do is into the pits comes Kane Lasky. I think the sensible thing to do is probably to work together at this stage. Whether they'll do that, I'm not sure, because obviously battling is a little bit of fun, and I think we might have an answer here with the 212. Definitely Alan McCain looking a little bit racy with Rice.
Tom, I've been hypothesising over the, your comment of it's a bit early for your liking in terms of the pit stop. And yeah, I agree with you in terms of normally, we're probably about halfway through where you'd normally see pit stops. However, I think the drivers are capitalising on the fact that we've got that smaller grid here today, as I mentioned, just 31 cars. But there's more space available on track, and they've pretty much come out together. It's Dantas Green and Lasky and Overstreet have all come out in one line. They've got Bradford Gould locked in the middle of them. He is yet to stop. But what I think they've done is, they've looked at the situation and gone, right, I can come out in the pocket of space. We're not making any progress here. We've lost a lot of time behind Antonio Rice. Well, Favini has got to the lead of that group now. And I think they've all just gone, right, okay, let's pit. Let's get in some fresh air and get the job done and go about it that way. As Race and Favini are swapping places as well, left, right, and centre a little bit further up. See if the timing tower flicking away with those guys. Well, they have sorted themselves out on the head through the S's. McCain's still out of the rear of them. But yeah, I just think these guys are just going for that early pit stop in a view of just trying to get a jump on all these lot and trying to close that gap up to Panero and Marnie, who's they're 9.6 seconds in front of this battle for third.
And for what it's worth, they're lapping much faster as well from these guys. Young Marnie 56.1, pretty much the pace of the field last time by. Here are our race leaders. They're being smart. Everyone else, or the chasing pack, are in the 56.8s or at least the mid 56s. And it just goes to show why and how these guys have been able to pull away. And they have played it smart. Don't think that Panero's got the measure on Jorg Marni just yet if you're watching this race in the YouTube chat. So appreciate we've got a couple of people. And by the way, thank you Tuto who says Rice is pronounced race. Thank you very much for that. That's helpful as Speaker the Devil. He's battling here and might just try and send a move down the inside on Favini. Race goes around the outside now. Will be the inside for the next corner. Can he get the braking done? He won't need to really break into that corner and does get himself up into third. But back to my point, don't get caught up in the fact that Marni and Panero have been line of stern for a while. As I said, this is absolutely tactics if I have ever seen them.
I was just keeping half an eye on Alan McCain there. He had a bit of a look at Favini to try and get the move done, but no, that's why he backed out of it. Into the pits comes McCain. Now, this is interesting, isn't it, Tom? Because we will get to see just how much time they've lost, gained, or nothing's happened whatsoever against that chasing group who are further down through the field of Green, Dantes, Lasky, and Overstreet, who all went for that early pit strat. There is Green, and well, he's managed to clear Bradford Gould. There's McCain up and running again, lining up the tyres to get going, but I think he's going to come out behind this group as Dantas just getting the move done on Gould there. Yep, and Lasky's going to follow him through, and if Overstreet's sensible, she'll sleep through, but I think she might be just a little bit too far back, and well, this is trouble. And no disrespect to Bradford Gould, he's caught up in a battle that the others really don't want to be involved in right now. In equal terms, it could allow McCain to close in and come along for the ride with this group who are clearly throwing some shapes and making great pace at this stage of the race as well. We're just about to hit that halfway stage.
And it really is bubbling up to be an exciting one towards the end. It's a slow burning contest, but sometimes they're the most entertaining when it comes to these sort of 40-minute race. This 40-minute race format that I have to say is only something I've really seen become popular on iRacing through various leagues that I've covered, and I really am quite a fan. As down the inside goes Paul Jackson, he's going to make his way up into 13th position in his quest for a top 10. Not too far away, 6.5 seconds. I say not too far away, that's quite a sizable margin to do over the next few laps or so. Going to have to go on a pretty big stint here. And I wonder as well, are any of our drivers, perhaps Race and Favini and co, maybe think about taking tyres at this stage? 12 seconds to the leading pack, take tyres, lose another second or two as we see a battle here. Race is under pressure from Favini as they go down into turn one. Favini will go around the outside, not quite draw alongside though, and Race holds on at the moment. But maybe you think, okay, let's put some new tyres on, even if it's only half a side, that'll gain me the 5 tenths per second that I'm losing to Marni and Panero.
Now, interestingly, I was covering the Aces Apex Racing League Endurance Series on Friday night on the channel, and the drivers were saying there that, you know, part of the issue that we're at Le Mans, so a bit of a different circuit, but in terms of just getting the tyres back up to temperature, of course, no tyre blankets in that series where we've got LMP1, LMDH and GTD. It's the same here. There's no tyre blankets, and they were saying that, you know, they're keeping the tyres on the car just because it was actually, despite having less available, you know, rubber across the stints, they didn't have to wait for them to warm up. They were ready to go, and I think maybe just, especially where, you know, not needing a grand amount of fuel, I quite slight to do child changes on these cars. I think maybe they'll leave them where they are. Just see Adam Bradshaw under pressure from Jess Jacobson there, who, well, that's just Justice to worry about in his mirrors as well. So I'm not sure necessarily round here changing the tyres could be the strats, but I've been wrong numerous occasions, Tom. So don't take it to gospel. What I'm saying, it could be complete and utter rubbish, and it probably is.
Well, that goes to me, though. I'm not doing best to someone, so we didn't put that on my application for Apex Racing TV, so don't listen to my rubbish. But anyway, yes, it can be wrong, and obviously the drivers have got the numbers, we don't. I mean, you know, in an ideal world, I'd jump in and do 500 laps of these cars so that I get to know them better than the drivers, but not a perfect world, unfortunately, so have to leave that aspect of it to them.
This is the thing, though, Tom, is that because the officials only last 20 minutes, you don't get, other than coming along to the Weekend Warriors, unless you do a full race stint, it's a little bit of a trip into the unknown. Yes, so many of them, thank goodness, yeah. this long-supported series has been going a long time. So look back from Gianni Longin. That's Jason Green making his way past. In fact, they're going 3 wide in the background there. Dantas getting the move done. Cathcart still, well, getting that's right amongst them. Sorry, Bradford Gould even. Sorry, not Brad Cathcart. Yeah, really stuck in the middle there. Oh, something's happened to York He's shown his crash, and also he's lost 6 seconds to Marco Panero. That could be really race-defining right now. Certainly in that battle for second place. Here we go, Tom.
Yes, and well, annoyingly, Tim, it's not popped up on my screen, so I'm going to have to ask you to talk us through this replay.
Wow, dips the tyres onto the outside there. Really unusual place on the exit of the S's. Dip the tyres, just half spin, but that is all it took. And Panero is gone now. 7 seconds, what looked like someone really taking the fight to the Italian. Well, Swiss known for their precision and intricacy, and it's all gone a bit wrong here for Jorg Marnie as Kane Lasky there out on the grass. And I tell you what, Bradford Gould, he's loving fighting with these much faster guys. Absolutely having the time of his life there in the 197 machine. Yes, he's yet to stop. He's running very light, but doesn't have to let him through. He is in a position. Look how close Kane Lasky is there as we head through the penultimate corner. But even I'm sure I saw Dantas just running a little bit right there. Headed through West Bend down into diving turn. There's all someone off the track a bit more so there. They're going to be slow up, and Jason Green's going to come up across them. That must be Bob Kern, I think, just in front of them. As there goes Dantas ahead of Bradford Gould. Wow. Hey, it's all changed here, isn't it? It's still fascinating to watch.
It's fascinating to watch. It's really is another 197 back around the outside, looks to the inside. And I want to have a comment on that Your Money incident, actually, because I was, iRacing, the grass in iRacing has got, it's like a trap. It's like a trap. I've never seen grass like it on any sim. And in fact, you drive a real car, you drive anything, and the grass isn't that much of a deciding factor. When you dip a wheel on it, just sends you around. You don't experience it. So one thing to sort of discredit this sim, one bad feature of this sim, and I think your Marnie will probably agree with me on that at the moment.
The only time I've seen it true to life was earlier this year in IMSA at Sebring, and two of the lead LMDHs they got onto the grass and just slid forever, and in doing so ended up taking a couple of the GTDs in front of them. It's on board with Phil Berry right now. That's Brad Cathcart in front of us. Yeah, that's the only time I've ever seen it look reminiscent to real life, iRacing with its grass. But Berry going to get this move done underneath the Samposi straight bridge. They didn't get it done before. Yes, he does. He's ahead, and that is now up into 26th position. We've got Kurt Nunes and Jeff Jacobson and Dan Wood in 9th, 10th, 11th, respectively, for those guys. And what's worrying more so is Panero, since dropping Marnie, is extending that gap even further. That's about half a second he's growing that by in. Last lap or two, well, I'd say probably 2, maybe possibly 3 laps, of course, with only a 56-second lap here at Lime Rock Park, as there goes McCain clearing Bradford Gould. He's, as mentioned, still yet to stop. But I think the interesting parts here for me are Jason Green and Evandro Dantas. I think they're going to pose that biggest threat to Jorg Marnie after the round of pit stops, and I think that they'll possibly even... Actually, no, Antonio Rice is... No, he's got Favini right behind him. Sorry, I'm reading that slightly wrong. Yes, I think they're going to pose that biggest threat to Jorg Marnie in second, and possibly will knock Rice and Favini off a chance of being on the podium.
I think Favini's got a right chance here. As we look at Jason Green's going to almost get it all wrong off the racetrack. You can see that coming. Is that Dantas? I think it is. It's Kern, or... Don't know who went off the racetrack there. I'm getting all confused. He can, yeah, there we go. I got it right the first time. And so off the racetrack for a moment there. Look back at Jason Green, who now turns his attention to the 32. I just saw someone tumbling down the order, Tim, and I couldn't figure out who it was because everyone was suddenly in the pits.
I'm wrong. I believe it's actually Gary Walbot because he was in amongst them. So that's who it would have been. Yeah, it was interesting. Green just had to check up mid-corner, which is what caught Walbot out and sent him off into the grass. He then elected with that slow pace off the corner just to head that into pit road. Yes, there you go. It was Gary. Was it Gary? No, it wasn't. I was right first time round. It was Bob Kern.
Oh, this is why we're on board with him, though, because he's got into the pit wall. And not really much he could do there because there was a car very slow into pit lane.
Yeah, that was
by
Bob
the way,
Kern, wasn't it? And interestingly,
that car as well
had
the right to be there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
just a racing incident.
I mean, maybe he should have anticipated a little bit more brakes big sooner, but hey, hindsight. And this has been set up in the commentary booth. Incredibly easy to comment on stuff like that. And, you know, I'm not sure I would have done anything different necessarily. And one of those frustrating things, and then, like you say, talking about that grass, just caught a little bit, and that was it. Carried him straight on and clipped the wall. So then had to get him reversed, and lost a whole heap of time in doing so. As this is where these guys have really spaced out now, haven't they? Dantas and Green have checked out. They're 2.5 seconds up the road from Lasky, Overstreet, and McCain. And let's not forget, Lasky was in third, wasn't he, when he stops as Ken Batley into the pits from 6th place. Looking back from Dantas, that is, of course, Green right behind us. And yeah, thanks to the traffic, they've really lost a bunch of time. And I do wonder, actually, now thinking about it, where I was saying these guys could be the biggest threat to Yogmani finishing second. I'm now wondering how much time they've lost because of that traffic, and actually, has that negated the great pace they were setting initially?
We said the traffic maybe not as much of a factor here as it has been in recent weeks. As Pinero leader into the pits, so that's in a timely manner. We'll see where he comes out in relation to others. Yogmani is going to follow him in, and that seemed like a very late call. I think he may have done that in response to Pinero. Actually, what will Race do? He is going to stay out and try and do a couple more laps, I would imagine. 10 minutes to go in this race. It's all getting very interesting indeed, and once these pit stops filter out, whilst we expect Pinero to probably go on into the distance and win this race, maybe the traffic... Oh, how has that happened? Yogmani is right on the back of Pinero.
Yogmani was only stationary for 3.7 seconds. That is nowhere near long enough. Pinero is stationary for 11 seconds, which is maybe a little bit on the slow side.
Oh, look, he knows. I think Marnie might have... Well, I say that. We know Marnie has underfueled the car.
Well, it's happened again in the Formula Fords earlier on. Headed out into the race with only qualification fuel on board. Now has not put enough fuel into the car. Oh, it's gone from bad to worse for a Yogmani. Yeah, you can hear that car having a bit of a chug, can't you? As he heads down the hill and he's going to peel off into the pit lane. Race, Rodriguez, Justice, Jackson. Oh, he's going to follow Marnie into the pit road. And be a bit slow in doing so, but yeah, they're all into pit road. Vini carries on, interestingly, so he's going to go deeper than anyone else here at Lime Rock Park. Cutting it a bit close as well. I mean, look, with 32 minutes, I suppose a short lap time does make it a little bit more, you know, you can manipulate it. It's a bit more malleable and adaptable in terms of which lap you do pit on, but I'd imagine he's surely going to go in, especially with seeing all that traffic in front of him. There you go, the alternate line. Leader in. And where will he come out? So yes, Jason Green Dantas got the jump of Antonio Race, who's dropped all the way down to 9th behind McCain. So yes, staying out. The undercut was clearly the strat to go for, Tom.
And I always think as well that it seems like pit stops sometimes. Oh, I heard it. I didn't see it though. And hopefully we can get a replay because car off the track at the top of the picture. That is Bradford Gould. Thank you, Tim. And well, as they go side by side into turn 1, Megan Overstreet looking for 4th position. He's going to keep 4th position. I have to say, I heard that incident, as I said, but I ain't seen much. So hopefully we can see what happened, and in due course, here we go. This sounded quite bad from Bradford Gord. I heard a crunch of carbon fibre as he goes through into, this is turn 6. He just gets onto the grass, and well, he's learned how that works. He got to jump on one of the raised curbings. Did well to save the car, actually, but it'll be a bit...
There's a manhole cover there, Tom, on corner exit, and it's just slightly raised up, and well, it dips down, then obviously, you know, like a gully to collect rain, and then raises up, and basically it acts like a jump if you just stay out that wide a little bit too long. And that's what Bradford Gould experienced there. Got the car airborne, and well, then in doing so purchased a one-way ticket to the barrier. Still, these lot are going at it hard, aren't they? I mean, battle for fourth. They've fallen really far behind Green and Dantas, who are looking safe for that second and third bar. Complete disaster for them. So it's now just comes down to the best of the rest title, hasn't it? And for Vini, again, they're staying out late. The last driver to stops on lap 34. Although, amazingly, Bradford Gould is still yet to stop, still wheeling it around there, out there in 12th place. I don't know quite where he's finding this fuel from. 34 minutes complete out of the 40. He's surely got to be in this time around, surely.
You would expect so, because how can you physically run a tank longer than the tank is physically able to run? I mean, unless he's got some incredible fuel saving skills. Some drivers are obviously more economical in their driving style naturally. Whether he's one of them, I don't know. Overstreet's just got past Lasky. Lasky gets back past Overstreet, so 4th position for him. Now Bradford Gould finally makes his pit stop. So just about time. 5 minutes to go in the race. And I almost think, mate, some of these guys should sometimes come in with 5 minutes gone and then do the rest of the race and see how that strategy works out. We have seen it before, haven't we? This is a battle then for second position. Green and Dantas. Can't remember if we picked up on it, Tim, but Jorg Marnie has been back into the pits in recent laps to try and keep going in this race. So he's refueled that car, runs down in 18th at the moment, so still score pretty highly in regard to the Masters standings. Out of turn 7 they go. Dantas looking for second position. It is Green just ahead of him in that 160 car, and Dantas is very fast indeed. He's not fast enough into turn 1 though, and rather cleverly lifts and coasts into the corner, into the braking zone, just to make sure that he's not forced into an awkward move. Overstreet and Lasky still battling.
They are, as they head through Big Ben. Lasky on the right-hand side of your screen, going to have the inside line here. McCain's the interesting part in all this. 6th overall right now. Your leader in Spec 2, Batley and Justice 2nd and 3rd in class. Antonio Rice still leading Masters. After obviously that double pit stop from Jorg Marnie, not putting in the fuel in the car. With Kurt Nunes and Aaron Bradshaw 2nd and 3rd in class right now. I suspect one as well as your top 3, them denoted by those red markings against their position numbers. But as they descend through diving turn, you can see Overstreet just looking that little bit more racy. Pulls out to drive us right on Lasky. We ride on board with McCain. Is he going to follow Overstreet through? He's got the draft. Lifts a bit. They still remain side by side. How are they going to fathom this one out as it's getting a little bit close? A little bit of a dab of the brakes, and they both drift out wide. And here comes McCain, and he's going to pick off Lasky. But Favini has been brought into this equation now, Tom. Look, he's right up onto the back of these guys. All of that battling has meant he's been able to catch up in an absolute instant and walk right up to the back of them. And if they're not careful, you can just see him in the background there. Antonio Reyes and Jesus Rodriguez, 2 Iberians, they'll be joining the fight too.
And call me boring, but if I'm Kane Lasky right now, I am not making a move on Megan Overstreet unless I am able to do so with slipstream down into turn 1, and I've got a total run, because 11th spot is his closest competitor in Spec 2. 1 position, not going to make a difference. He, however, is thinking differently to me. Goes for a lunge down into turn 1, looking for that 4th place overall, and will get it. So prove me wrong. Alan McCain able to get himself up into 4th with a very safe move indeed. And now I'm starting to drive conservative, because 11th place is his closest competitor. As I mentioned, they score overall points, but you've then also got to ask yourself, what is a position worth if my closest competitor's only scoring points for 11th?
I do believe, from my memory, this will be Alan McCain's highest position finish ever in the Weekend Warriors. If he can pull it off, he just needs to bring it home. It's a driver who, well, for large parts of the last few seasons, if he didn't have bad luck, then he wouldn't have had any luck whatsoever. So you see him in the background there, all swerve out onto the Samposi straight. In the foreground, though, it's Dantas and McCain. They still remain as they are, second and third, respectively. And just looking back through the timing screen, and well, I think McKay's benefiting right now because Lasky and Overstreet are getting into one another. And there you go, Lasky ahead of Overstreet. McCain still leading this group. Favini's still on the tail. And Rodriguez and Race have managed to take a couple of attempts extra out of this group. We got 1 minute and 15 seconds left. So let's have a look. Where is Panero? Ooh, I think they might have 2 laps to go. I'm not sure he's going to get the white flag. No, he's definitely not. Look at that. So, actually, when he comes around again, Tom, I think he's going to he'll get the white flag then. He will not see the checkered.
Unless, with 14 seconds in hand, he backs off, loses 5 seconds or so this lap, and is able to do that, which I wouldn't put it past him. I know I would be doing that,
well,
but maybe I'm less enthusiastic than he is.
That's then interesting, isn't it? Because what fuel? McCain runs it in a bit deep, and that allows Lasky through, Overstreet through. Will Favini get through too? No, he won't. But it depends what fuel has Panero got on board. Because if he's got enough to do that, then he'll just keep going. To hell with everyone else. And then it's who's gambled out of this group. Oh, Marnie's in the pits yet again. Oh no, that's the 3rd time today. Goes from bad to worse for the Swiss driver.
And I feel even worse for Marnie, purely because, as we'll get to this Overstreet battle in a moment, because she's looking very racy indeed to get past K&J Lasky. But I feel particularly bad for Marnie because I think he had a real chance at winning this race. And I really, really did. Here goes Overstreet then, as they go down into turn 1. Might be the last lap of the race for these guys. We're waiting to see where Panero is. In fact, Panero has he crossed the line? He must have done. Yes. So what final lap of the race now? White flag taken. Here he is. And, well, Overstreet not quite able to get past Lasky. We cut away just in time. Battle for second, though. That's between Green and Dantas. And Tim, I think that's going to go all the way to the line.
It is. And I'm not even... I'm trying to look. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you spot the white flag out being waved by Barney? Producer Lewis is saying yes, so therefore it must have been so. Well, this is now all or nothing for Evandro Dantas, isn't it? A race to the line. Well, Panero's going to take victory. There we go. Confirms it. Checkered flag for him. It's going to be a run to the line for Dantas, but I think he's going to be that bit too far back to the challenge on Jason Green. We look down from the helicopter. Yeah, Jason Green's going to take that one comfortably. I say comfortably, it's a few cars length, but even so, here we go, Overstreet. Who's going to get it? It's going to be at the line. 12 hundredths of a second. Overstreet gets it over Lasky.
And Race comes home in 9th. That'll be the win for the Masters division. Here we go. Race to the line between the 40. And I'm trying to see who beat him to it. It was the car just alongside him of the 39 there, I believe, which is 399 of Justice. Adam Bradshaw in the 15th spot, rather, and a 3 wide to the line for one of the minor positions. 21st, Berry, 28 hundredths behind is Mitchell in 22nd. And that is a bit of a battle.
Yes, I think that's everyone across the line as well. We'll be able to bring you some classified results very shortly. Well, it's that shortly. It's now. Marco Panero takes the victory. Jason Green second with Dantas running out your podiums. Then Megan Overstreet fourth. Just pipping, well, officially 300ths of a second, Kane Lasky. It's that McCain. Oh, sorry, no, it's not even that. Sorry, I'm looking at the next gap, aren't I? Apologies. It's, 15 hundredths of a second. Lasky lost out to Overstreet. McCain just marginally further back, about 3 tenths. Then Favini in 7th. McCain instantly your winner in Spec 1 and Spec 2 even. And I think probably his highest ever position he's finished overall. You've got Favini and then Jesus Rodriguez 8th. Antonio Race, your winner in Masters, 9th, and Gardini's going to round out that top 10, Tom.
And 11th is Ken Bately, finishes 2nd in our Spec 2 category. Dan Wood in 12th. Joshua Justice rounds out our Spec 2 podium. Jeff Jacobson in 14th. Then Adam Bradshaw and Tom Gradwell make up the rest of the Masters podium, with Kurt Nunes behind them. And it's Jeff Rubka rounding out our first page of results. After that, it is Paul Jackson and Brad Cathcart.
Phil Berry is 21st, with Stephen Mitchell being the last driver on the final lap. Only just though, 300th second did Berry beat Mitchell. Then into one lap down, it's Bradford Gould, Gianni Longin, Martin van der Berg, Jorg Marnie. 2 laps down after all of that. Could have won today. What a dismal result for him. Vaglini 27th. It's Walbolt. It's also 2 laps down. And then we're starting to get into retirements. Bob Kern, we lost him on lap 37. Simon Mayer on lap 27. And Les Blaver all the way back on lap 12 to run out your 31 car field. Let's have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers. Oh, who do we pick first? Let's first off, we'll go for winner in one of the classes. It's Antonio Race joins us. Well, that's not a bad evening's result, isn't it? You know, a win earlier on in the Formula 4, a win in the SRFs. I couldn't ask for much better, really, could you?
Hello, good night, everyone. Yeah, I'm just collecting the wreck. The fastest guys have some unlucky, and then I'm just collect. I'm like I don't know, that bird that eats the rest of the others when the others kill.
Yes, I know which one you mean. I can't think which bird it is, but yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Yep. Well, at least, well, a win is a win, and I'm happy with that.
Obviously, excuse me, Yogmani and Marco Pinero just, well, they got away from you guys at the start. Was that because you had pressure from behind, or was it just they were much faster than yourself today?
I don't know. I get qualified with the draft, so probably I don't know. I have no idea what's going on, but I was so slow. It's nothing I can guess about what was that pressure, or just driving badly, or just different temperature from practice to race, whatever. I couldn't figure it out.
And finally, obviously, Jason Green, Evandro Dantas, Alan McCain, and Megan Overstreet all pitted very early on. Oh, no, sorry, Megan. Yeah, Notion. Obviously, they all pitted very on. Do you wish you'd pitted maybe a little bit earlier with everyone else and finished a bit higher up, or are you still happy with the 9th?
Well, I think if I was thinking if I pit earlier, then I would get on traffic. But then I try to pit as late as possible. But probably I should pit earlier. Yeah, I'm happy with the 9. Well, I never expect that money was not on the front. So when I saw I was winning the Masters, I was what?
Well, it worked out an absolute treat for you today. Congratulations, 2 wins to 2 here. It's Antonio Rice.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, have a good day.
And you, Tom. Who have you managed to grab for a bit of a chat?
We're going to drag up Alan McCain. Alan, welcome to the stream. First of all, congratulations on your win. Main question I have for you actually is at the end there you had a very, very interesting fight. Now I know you scored points overall in the championship here, but how do you approach as the leader of Spec 2, knowing that your closest competitor is in 11th spot, racing with all of that on the line?
It was one of the moments that I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to have a go at this. I had 0x up until the last lap, turn before the last, and that's when I received 1x for running wide. We're running wide, so even the start of the lap before that, I had what they call a brown trouser moment at turn 1, so I kind of backed off a wee bit there as well. But other than that, I was really enjoying it. I was really in my flow tonight. It's just great to do what I've done.
And you've been on a flyer in the last couple of rounds, haven't you? Even when you haven't been winning, you've been up there with the pace. You've always looked like one of the better drivers in the Spec 2. I mean, surely now your attention has got to be turning to just keep winning and doing what you're doing.
Yeah, try for the win. If not for the win, settle for second. I'd be happy enough with second, as long as I can sort of receive the fastest lap for Spec 2, maybe lead a few laps in Spec 2. It still gets me points. Anything that'll get me points. I don't necessarily need to win all the time.
Yeah, and I think that when you're putting together as a championship challenge, I think that's a very, very good way to approach it. Well, finally, I'd ask you if there's anyone you want to shout out on the stream before we let you go.
Stevie for putting the league on, all the amazing drivers that's in the league, and yourselves for broadcasting it. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much, Alan, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
That was Alan McCain, your winner in the Spec 2. Tim, you've got Jason.
I have indeed. Jason Green joins us now. Jason, I know Tom, and I think I was starting to join him as well. A bit dubious on pitting so early. Evandro went even earlier than yourself. What was the thought behind that? Just trying to get in some fresh air when we didn't have as many cars on track tonight?
Yeah, Antonio and Favini were pedaling super hard at the front of the little pack we had, so it was we were like a second a lap slower than we should have been. And it's funny, I had before the race started, I told everybody, it's like you never ever want to pit early at this track, and of course in the race that ended up being the best strategy. So yeah, we were just going so slow, so the undercut is what worked out for us.
And during that undercut, you got embroiled in a bit of a battle with, I think it was Bradford Gould was one of them, and I'm trying to remember who the other driver was. I think it might have been Gary Walbolt. Did you get a little bit nervous at that stage when they weren't? I mean, they were having a great fight with yourselves, but obviously, technically, weren't in that battle in some ways. Did you get a little bit nervous with trying to get past them and get clear at all, or did you feel confident and you had everything in hand?
Yeah, that actually ended up working out well for me. Brad didn't battle me too hard, but I think he started battling Evandro and Kane behind, so it actually allowed me to get away a little bit. But yeah, no, I've Brad and I are good friends, and I trust his driving, so I wasn't too worried about it.
Well, congratulations, Jason. Second here today, and not bad result even earlier on in the Formula 4s. It's Jason Green, second in the overall, and of course in Spec 1. Tom, I understand he's just got enough time for Megan Overstreet.
We do. Megan, welcome to the stream. Well done today. Very difficult there, I think, to battle. How are you finding Lime Rock Park?
That was a hard battle. I'm wore out from that fight that we were having for fourth place.
And well, seemed like a relatively easy track to overtake on down into turn 1, but otherwise quite processional. How are you sort of approaching that and the battle, especially with so much on the line there?
Yeah, the draft is so powerful in this car. If you lose it, you're gone. So if you make one big mistake, it's all over, and it's easy to miss your braking zone going into turn 1 because you got a really good draft as well.
And in terms of the wider championship, then obviously you're putting in the good finishes so far. Not quite been able to get to the top just yet. How are you thinking about making that extra jump?
I just got to get good. So it's basically what I have to do.
Well, that's very blunt, and well, I guess we all wish it was that easy. Thank you for joining us, Megan, and well done.
Thank you.
That was Megan Overstreet, and well, Tim, I'll hand over to you to outro us.
Well, yes, most certainly, and that's all we've got time for here today on Super Sunday on Apex Racing TV, the double header of Weekend Warriors, and well, it was entertaining nonetheless. Kicking off with the Formula 4s at Okayama, rounding things off with the SRFs at Lime Rock. A week's time, we will be back where we are heading. It's Alton Park for the Formula 4s, but it's Hockenheim. No, it's not Hockenheim. I apologise. We're heading across to Japan. It's Fuji for the SRS. We'll see you then. From myself, Tom Dillon, and Lewis Araya. See you in a week's time. Goodbye.